And hello everyone, welcome once again. My name is Logan and this is Decode Your Reality. I have a very special presentation for all of you today. This one, out of all the videos that I've created and presented to you over the years now, this one completely has my jaw on the floor. I've literally had to taste some sand because my jaw has been on the floor during this entire decode that I'm about to show you today. Folks, this is going to be the Simpsons, Mr. Donald John Trump, and the character Lucifer decoded. I'm going to be tying all these three characters together, and I'm going to convince you that these three characters are all in bed together. As crazy as that might sound, I'm going to show you its supporting evidence by multiple modalities, multiple layers, a lot of numbers. I'm going to be using a lot of pi, 3.14. If this is the first time you've heard of pi since high school, well, pi contains an infinite amount of numbers. It's the measurement of a circle. And you know, folks, if you look at the planet we live on, whether you believe in the globe or you believe in the flat earth, it doesn't matter. But nonetheless, either one you believe in, it still is going to come to the circle, the sphere. And we live on that sphere or on that globe, whichever you believe. Nonetheless, the point is that the circle has all the truth in it, and it will tell you everything that you need to know about this reality that we live in, both cosmic and artificial, with the matrix that we're creating. You know, this show, The Simpsons, it's the longest running primetime television series in history. Currently 31 seasons and 683 episodes. And continually running. And you have to ask yourself, how is that possible? And what is just so special about The Simpsons? I mean, yeah, I've watched it. It's kind of humorous at times, but it's nothing fancy to me. It's because they predict the future, folks. And that's the reason why it's the longest running show in television history, because they are predicting the future. They are creating the reality that we're all living in right now. With your help, because all the people that watch the show, they help the predictive programming come true. And that's why it's so accurate. There is no such thing as coincidences. And any writer or person that is a voiceover for the show that tells you anything other than they really know the future are telling you lies. Because they are predicting the future in so many different episodes. And you know, what does this guy have to say about it? I've been following him for some time. I've decoded many of his things. Trump Tower, his inauguration, the acquittal. You know, I mean, he is in so many things. He's in theology. I mean, his name is so scattered throughout the Matrix. And is this guy a time traveler? And Back to the Future, it completely says he's a time traveler. So many people have made videos on him and the support of him being a time traveler. So we have two logical conclusions. Number one, either these people are time travelers, like Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons and company, and Trump, and either they really can go back and forth from past to future in the time spectrum, or they have some help and they're being used. They're possessed, so to speak. And that's why I have this character right here. And I will show you, and I'll leave it up to you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to present you information, and I'm here to show you with numbers and the mystical arts. This is your first time here. Welcome, and I'm just going to ask you to just follow the breadcrumbs. Watch me connect a puzzle together. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support and your continued observations of these videos. You know, without you, I wouldn't be here. Seriously. I appreciate all of your remarks, whether they're ignorant or not. I have to be kind of bold these days because, you know, some of these people, I don't know what planet they're from, but nonetheless, here we go, folks. It all started with this guy right here. I started studying this guy, Ingersoll Lockwood. He was born in 1841 in New York, Ossining, New York, and he really has a book called Barron's Underground Journey, which is this is one of the photographs in the book. And if you know anything about symbolism, if you blow this up and look at this a little bit more further, you'll start to see a bigger picture. But Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey was the book. And keep in mind, Donald Trump has a son with Melania named Barron. This book was written in 1893, and it really didn't take claim to fame until 2017 when Trump became president. So this guy right here, there's so many nuggets with this dude. It's ridiculous. And I could have just done a complete decode on this guy, which I'm considering doing. But I am including him in this because he's important. He also had a book called The Last President. And, a lot of his stuff was, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of it was around dystopian or, the disturbance of the world. Moving towards that. These are my methods of decoding, folks. I'm going to show you a little bit. If you're new to this, follow along. Again, if you're a returning subscriber, you can fast forward to the presentation, but I'm going to suggest you don't do that because I have some valuable information in the beginning of this. But nonetheless, if you look down in the description, you'll see some timestamps you can fast forward at your will. But here it is. Is Trump a time traveler? Well, if you look at Barron, and you look at the photograph of what was created in the book, there are some similarities, really, if you blow this up, of the features and the features. Okay? This is the actual title of the book. And through numerology being the science of numbers, where letters become numbers, they start to tell us a story. And Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, the title of the book, has a total output of 157. Notice the number 57. We're going to be seeing that a lot throughout this presentation. And we bring in another layer to observe things from. Again, if you're new, we're connecting the dots. We're bringing in many layers. These are the several layers that we're showing here, numerology being one, and then we're bringing in real science. What does this have anything to do with it? Well, when you break down numerology, you can tie it to some of the elements on the periodic table. So just follow the numbers, folks, and I promise you'll be able to make heads or tails of this. Notice that the word nickel, it's the 28th element, and it has an atomic weight or mass of 57.935. This is one of its weights. It has several. But notice the number 57, which is a match of the 57 in the total title of the book. Well, the character Lucifer has a numerology of the number 28 in the Chaldean cipher, which is a match of the protons in the element nickel. The 28th element is nickel. So Lucifer, one of its elements is nickel, Old Saint Nick. And if you study this element, it's referred to as devil's copper. Okay? This guy here, Ingersoll, who wrote that book, first and foremost, I want to point out he died at the age of 77, and we're going to be showing that number throughout this presentation as well. I want you to notice that his full name in numerology is a number 71, and we're going to be showing that throughout this presentation. 71 is tied to the element lutetium, and the atomic weight of that is 174.941. We're going to be talking a lot about the 174 and showing these connections, folks. Now notice his last name is Lockwood, and that has a total numerology of 39. 39 is tied to the element yttrium. And yttrium has only one atomic weight, which is 88.906. Now, if you've seen the movie Back to the Future, you know that the DeLorean and Marty McFly had to get that car up to 88 miles an hour to time travel. I want you to notice as well, we're bringing in more layers. We're using the cards of Illumination, a typical poker deck of cards. There are 52 cards in a deck, including the Joker, matching the 52 weeks of the year. There are 4 suits, the hearts, the clubs, the diamonds, and the spades, matching the 4 seasons of nature. These cards are embedded directly into nature, and they are highly accurate in giving the descriptions of how our world works. You will have some of these cards, and I'm going to show you that during this presentation. Nonetheless, card 39 in the Cards of Illumination, and let me just show you that. This right here is the boilerplate chart of the Cards of Illumination. You have the 12 months at the top, and then you have the 31 days running vertically down, and this is a boilerplate chart. One of your birthday cards is going to be in here as well, and I highly suggest to study yourself. Check out the video I've done called How to Decode Yourself. It's very important to understand who you are and why you're here. We're going to be using this quite a bit, and nonetheless, on top of that, here is the natural spread of the Cards of Illumination. The heart suits is first, the club suit is second, the diamond suit is third, and the spades suit is fourth. Notice there are 13 cards in each suit. The kings are at the bottom, the aces are at the top. The jokers hold it in. Okay? This is the natural spread of these cards and the numbering system. I'm also going to be showing during this presentation the tarot system, which is right here. This is a graphic I've created. If you'd like these graphics, just email me, decodeyourreality@gmail.com, and I'll send them to you. These are also highly accurate, and these were made after the Cards of Illumination, the typical poker deck. And these cards are numbered in a different fashion, but they can be connected and give us other outputs with their symbology. And then I also use the animal tarot. These are the medicine cards. There are 52 of these, and they are represented by animals instead of suits and numbers. There are numbers on the cards, but nonetheless, you're going to have some of these cards attached to your birthday and your name numerology as well. So those are the methods for these cards that I'm going to be using, and why I wanted to show them to you. So here we have the card 39, which is related to Lockwood, his last name, which is related to the element yttrium, which is related to the 88. And the tarot card, that's the 77th card, is the King of Pentacles. I'm showing you this because, again, he passed away at the age of 77. The 77th card, being the King of Pentacles, is a match for the King of Diamonds because pentacles in the tarot means diamonds. These pentacles mean diamonds. And it just so happens that the 77th card is a direct match of the 39, and this guy has his last name and his birth stamp of death matching these two cards. And his total name numerology is the 71, matching lutetium. Now stick with me, folks. I promise you this is going to get hot and heavy. This dude was born in Ossining, New York, a little bit up the Hudson River. Notice that Ossining in the numerology Chaldean cipher equals the number 28. That's a direct match of the word Lucifer, which is why I placed nickel here once again. Now what I want to point out, which is really interesting, folks, is the distance between the birth of Ingersoll Lockwood in Ossining, New York, and the birth of Donald John Trump in New York, New York. It is a total distance, if you do a crow's fly, of 31.88 miles. Notice the 88 in there. So you have 31.88, and that is related to this right here in numerology. 31.88 is a total of 188 and 74. Now the 188 is really interesting because it not only has the 88 in there, which we're going to get to because Trump equals 88, but the 88's embedded right there, and it's right there in the distance between the birth of Lockwood and Trump. And then, of course, the 74 is in there, and 74 is linked to Lucifer in the English numerology cipher. That's using 1 through 26 and the letters A through Z. But what gets really interesting, and I'm going to be using this a lot, folks, during this presentation, the number 188 in the digits of pi, they appear at the 471st digit. 471 digits in past the 3 point is the number 188. Now I showed this element right here being attached to this guy's full name numerology. There's the 174. Keep in mind, the numbers don't have to be exactly in the same order. As long as they show up that way, we have a match. So his name is 174, and then the distance between Trump's birth and Lockwood's birth through numerology becomes 188, and that's a match through the string of pi. 471. So here's some more methods of my decoding, folks. I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to be showing this quite a bit. This is just a little teaser here, but here is a little bit more based upon the characters of The Simpsons. This guy here, Daniel Castellaneta, the voice of Homer. His name equals the number 77, the master number 77, which is a direct match to the King of Pentacles in the tarot, and again, that's directly matched to the 39th card in the deck of the cards of Illumination, the King of Diamonds, which is linked to the 39th element, which is yttrium, which is linked to the number 88, and of course we know 88 can be linked to Back to the Future and time travel. And remember, I mean, you go back to the distance, look at this, 31.88. There's the time travel number. And then, of course, 3188 through numerology, there's the time travel number again. This is the last piece of the decoding methods I use to show you, just example-wise. The word skull and bones. The infamous secret society based out of Yale University. That's behind this picture you see here is Yale. Well, that equals the number 39. Just like the word Microsoft does. And, you know, through the digits of pi, the 39 appears at the 43rd decimal digit of pi. So 39's linked to 43. And, you know, the 43rd card in the animal tarot deck is the spider. And what do spiders do? Well, they spin their webs, as in the World Wide Web. As in www. Keep in mind, the number 23 is linked to the word crown. Crown equals 23. You know, why did they choose www? I mean, that's 555 if you reduce that down. It's 15, which that's the devil card in the tarot, but the crown's the big standout, and the 39 is also a massive standout to this because remember, yttrium is the only weight of 88, time travel, skull and bones. I mean, Microsoft, they're all 39. And then, you know, look at this here, folks. I mean, this is a dead giveaway. This is Yale's abbreviation. They use the letter Y. And look at what's on yttriums. The letter Y. And, you know, what's the shape of a snake's tongue when it comes out of its mouth? Yeah, it's the letter Y. And this is where the secret society is residing at. And, you know, what does that have to do with, you know, Daniel Castellaneta and Trump and, you know, this Ingersoll Lockwood guy? And what does that have to do with Lucifer? Well, I'm going somewhere with this. We're creating our foundation. So here's the starting point of the character Lucifer. Now, the only verse in the Old Testament talking about Lucifer is in Isaiah 14 verses 12, where the Old Testament verse actually through the Hebrew, it wasn't through the English, that's a Latin name, Lucifer, but it's actually right here, which is transliterated as hell or Heil or Halel. If you leave the vowels out, folks, does that not look like hell to you? I mean, you could say it like that, hell or hail, almost identical pronunciation and phonetically to me. Well, you know, through the Hebrew, the natural spelling of Lucifer originally comes out to the number 39, which is tied to the element yttrium, which is tied to time travel. Well, when you go ahead and do it through numerology and the English and the Chaldean, you get two outcomes that I'm showing here, 57 and the number 12. And, 57 is once again tied to the element nickel, which I showed was tied to Baron's Underground Marvelous Journey in the book title. And, remember, Lucifer's 28. So this is one of Lucifer's elements. And, the 12 is tied to the 12th tarot card called the Hangman. And this is really interesting because when you compare it to the photograph of him being cast out of heaven, the story of that now, I'm not saying it's true, but the story of that they've created, that man has created, is where he gets cast out of heaven. And look at his feet are facing upwards, just like this right here. And, this is the actual scripture in English, but this is the original version of it through the Hebrew, where it was originally written in Isaiah. That has a number of 478, and when you put that into the string of pi, folks, look at where it appears, the 1407th digit of pi. And I just showed you where, the timestamp of Trump and Ingersoll was, and 31.88 miles and 188, and look at where it appears. There's that 471. Now, is it possible, folks, that Ingersoll Lockwood was possessed, or he was being used, or maybe he was a time traveler and he became Trump? And that's how he was able to write the book that was going to happen in our world today. I mean, it was written in the 1800s, but it came true in the 1900s, later on down the line. But look at these outcomes with the numbers and using theology and numerology, folks. And this is a standard graphic I'm using now. I've used it in several of my decodes, especially, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, decoding them. They're directly tied to this element lutetium, which is one of Lucifer's elements. This is a statement made by the great Mason Manly P. Hall. Very well respected Mason, wrote a lot of books. And this is what he said, that Lucifer is represented by the number 741. And, there it is. The 174, 741, I told you it doesn't matter what order they're in. The point is it's showing up. And, Lucifer starts off with Lucifer. Well, there it is, Lu. Now, I don't know how much more logic and common sense you would need to tie these two together and to see that it's a direct connection without any kind of argument or, well, that's not possible. I mean, this is clear and, to me, convincing evidence. So this is where the 174 and 74 come into play. Here's another example, folks. This was a book written by what appears to be either Jewish or it says it's Jewish text, but it was adopted by the early Christians. It was the Apocalypse of Moses, the life of Adam and Eve, and this is a direct piece from the book. Notice the synchronicities on this. This was Eve talking. She said, "The devil answered me through the mouth of the serpent." And look at the actual verse and chapter it's in on the book. There's that 174 again. Well, when you break this down through numerology, it becomes the number 550. And when you drop that 0, you're going to get a match of the word Satan, which many people think he is the serpent. But there's that 174 again, in a completely different off-the-wall topic that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it has everything to do because it's synchronous. It's in line with the synchronicities. And this is where it really gets interesting, folks. This is an actual photograph of June 16th, 2015, when Trump comes down the escalator with Melania standing in front. And this is after he made his announcement of running as the president, for the presidency, June 16th, 2015. And I want you to really understand the symbology of this. He's standing on an escalator and he's going down. He's going down. He's going down. And what's interesting about this, folks, is Isaiah 14 verses 12, which I showed you is directly linked to Lucifer. Well, when we bring in 14 and 12 with numerology, we get a 26, which is directly tied to the YHVH, the Yod He Vav He, which I'm going to show that. But in the overall aspects of the animal tarot, the wild boar, which is the 48th card, and these things are aggressive and vicious. Wild boar is a 2-word here, 14 and 12. Right there matching the Isaiah 14 verses 12. And that's where we get the number 48 from, which, this is where he made his announcement. This is where he kind of came down from, is in the Trump Tower, which has a numerology of 48. And then we link in the element cadmium, the 48th element, which has a few atomic masses or weights of, this one is the 113. We're going to be showing this. So we add another layer, and here's the 48. Let's keep going. This was a tweet sent out by this guy, Don Trumpo. I was just trying to find stuff in here. Of course, as fate would have it, the universe showing me things. This was exactly the tweet this guy said. He said, the ego has landed using an escalator. That was the statement. I have it highlighted in blue. And then the timestamp, folks, is 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. That was the actual timestamp of when he came down the escalator. Now look at this, folks. The eagle has landed using an escalator has a numerology output of 113, matching that of the element cadmium, the 48th element, which again is related to Isaiah 14 verses 12, talking about Lucifer being cut down and moved to the ground. Cadmium is actually derived from the Latin word cadmia. If you go study Royal Society of Chemistry, cadmium is cadmia, and the 14 is related to the word Satan. Satan equals 14. Again, this is where he came down the escalator. So look at this. The ego this is what this guy says on his tweet. The ego has landed using an escalator equals 113. That's the 48th element. And of course, he came down that escalator in the Trump Tower, which is 48. 48 and 113. How is that possible, folks? You try to go ahead and describe it and tell me what you think it is. How is this possible to see these connections and syncs like this? But wait, there's more. This was the icing on the cake for me on this one. He came down the escalator at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. Well, where does 11:05 appear in the string of pi? At the 174th decimal digit. Once again, there's that 174. Again, showing this character right here. The timestamp of Trump coming down the escalator was at 11:05, and that appears at the 174th decimal digit of pi. How else are you supposed to describe what you're seeing here? How do you figure this out, folks? That's why I say the game of life, it's fixed, it's rigged, it's already pre-planned. There's no other explanation for what I'm showing you here. None. It's fixed, folks. So here's the Simpsons coming into all this. This was the show that they remade. I think it came out in 2015, but it was Homer Simpson coming down the escalator, getting caught up in Trump's hair. And I don't know if you saw this, but look at the little symbols here. This is what people are holding up. This is the only two words that they're holding up: paid and vote. Let's decode that. Well, vote and paid, those two words that they're showing and blasting as he's coming down the escalator, end up becoming 22 and 14. Now, 14 is the word Satan, of course, and 22 is alchemy, change. Well, when we bring in the elements of the periodic table, the 22nd element matching vote is titanium, which is one of Saturn's moons, Titan. And 14 is silicon, as in serpent. Silicon, serpent, Satan. You see how that all meshes up? And keep in mind, Donald John Trump was born on the 14th of June. When you say titanium and silicon through numerology, look at what we get for the outcomes. Another 188, which matches the distance between Ingersoll, Lockwood, and Donald Trump's birth cities. But it also becomes the number 49. Look at this. Again, I'm repeating this. 188 appears at 471st decimal digit of pi, which is another link to Lucifer. And then the number 49 appears at the 57th decimal digit of pi. And if you remember, the 57 is tied to the element nickel, which is tied to Lucifer. So, folks, are you beginning to see what I'm showing you here? I mean, is it becoming clear to you what's going on in our matrix when they put these things out here? And how else do you describe this? Do you think that Matt Groening and all the people that are involved in The Simpsons, do you think that they consciously sit down and say, yeah, we got to have vote and paid written on here because in the digits of pi, the numbers have to match up like this? I mean, this would be so complicated, folks. They would never get a show out to you. They'd never get a segment done out to you. So the only other logical explanation is either these people are time traveling and the Matrix is exposing itself, or the game of life is fixed. Here's that actual episode. It was called Trumptastic Voyage. It originally aired on July 7th, 2015. July 7th can be also written as 77 or 77. Notice that July 7th, the date that it came out, is the 188th day of the year. 177 days remain until the end of the year. How convenient. And again, the 188 appears at the 471st decimal digit of pi. Folks, Trump's last name through the English equals the number 88, folks. I mean, there it is. July 7th can be written 7-7. And here we go again. I showed this already on Ingersoll, and I showed this on Daniel Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson. His name is 77. Well, here we go. July 7th is when this came out. 777. It can be written that way. That's the 77th card. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue twisted. The King of Pentacles, which is the King of Diamonds, which is Yttrium, which is the number 88, which again, here it is, folks. There's a golden nugget for all of you to observe. And this guy was in Back to the Future, which was all about time travel. How's that possible, folks? How can you wrap your mind around this? How is it possible? Well, I already showed this, so I don't need to go over this again. So let's just keep going here. Here's the actual guy who directed, and he directs much of the Simpsons show, David Silverman. And, he was born on March 15th, 1957. There's the 57 again, matching that of nickel, matching that of Lucifer. March 15th is the 74th day of the year. And, that gets into the element tungsten. Now, tungsten is related to illumination because they used tungsten to make filaments for light bulbs. Light bulbs, illumination. And it just so happens that the two characters in the world's religion, the main ones, is Jesus and Lucifer. I mean, you have Satan in there as well, but you have Jesus and Lucifer, because many people believe Lucifer is Satan. And this guy is connected to him because his birth was on the 15th of March. Well, keep in mind, too, folks, this is his birth card. The 8 of Diamonds. And if you notice, I've overlaid this symbol here, and that is Lucifer's sigil, the magic sigil. If you study Lucifer, that is its magic sigil, its stamp, its logo, its identity. It's brand, like Nike has the swoosh, McDonald's has the golden arch. Well, this is Lucifer's sigil or company logo. And it fits right over this guy's card. And this guy directed this episode. So, ask yourself, folks, is this guy, is he possessed? Is he being used? Or is he a time traveler that has knowledge about what the future holds? Or do they have some special device that they can look into the future? I mean, there are many possibilities. But what you're seeing here, folks, it unravels it all, and it allows you to really narrow down what the opinion could be on what this is all about. Now we get into the actual presidency. I showed you when he came down the escalator. Here it is. He was standing at the top, and how that's related to Lucifer and kind of him falling out of heaven. That was the symbolic aspect of why he came down the escalator. I can guarantee you that's the reason why he came down that escalator, with the timestamp and the digits of pi showing the 471. But he announced his presidency on June 16th, 2015. The card that is related to the June 16 is the Ace of Diamonds. It's the 27th card in the deck, which when you link it to, I don't think I linked it to, this is the 27th card. The 27th card in the Animal Tarot is the Dragonfly. The dragon. The dragon was hurled down to the earth. The great dragon hurled down to the earth. Come on, folks, you got to use your logic and common sense with these stories I'm showing you here. Nonetheless, Ace Diamonds, that's how we say that through numerology, has an output of 88, matching that of Trump. How convenient that he announces his presidency on a day that is the Ace of Diamonds, and the Ace of Diamonds is 88, which matches his last name. How convenient. I mean, his last name's right there on the sign. It doesn't say Donald John Trump, it just says Trump. The dragonfly, the dragon. This was the slogan that he used, "Make America Great Again." Now, I'm using two numerology ciphers, as I most commonly do these days. And the English, which is the numbers 1 through 26, matching the letters A through Z, has a total numerology output of 163. Folks, that's a direct match to the 66th element, dysprosium, because dysprosium has an atomic weight or mass of 163. And I want you to notice that both Donald Trump and Michael Pence, his vice president, they both have a numerology of the number 66. How is that possible, folks? Let's keep going. When we say the word 163, it gives us an output of the number 47. And as I've shown so many times before, it is always leading to this character right here, the ancient Israelite god of the Bible, the Tetragrammaton. And if you watch the decode I did on his impeachment, you will see the 47 plastered everywhere. It's everywhere in the decode of his impeachment. Everywhere. And remember, Washington, D.C., and the word White House, and the word Georgetown, as in Georgetown University, they also equal the number 47. How convenient that those words equal 47 too, matching that of the God of the Bible. Kind of interesting. What about the number 55? Through the Chaldean, make America great, 55. Well, 55 is the 10th Fibonacci number. And, remember too that the word Satan is the number 55. And, remember, folks, what day was Donald Trump born on? June 14th. See the 14 there? And, this is it right here, folks. The Yod, as in the Yod-He Vah-He, is the 10th letter of the Semitic letters, including the Phoenician, the Hebrew, the Aramaic, the Syriac, and the Arabic, and the Persian, all related to the Yod-He Vah-He. So is it possible, folks, that the God of the Bible is, in fact, running this guy right here? Did he send him from the future? Or is there even such a thing? Or is it running the show and this guy's being used? Because, remember, folks, I'll point out one thing. This guy right here is a match to the 66th book of the Bible, Revelation. And Revelation talks about the trumpets, the trumpets being blown. You know that story. the trumpets before the apocalypse happens, the trumpets, and these guys are in the last book of the Bible. Revelation equals 39. That's related to Yttrium and time travel, folks. The 88 related to Trump. Let's keep going. So is it possible that Trump is a time traveler, folks? Well, when you say Donald Trump time traveler, you have a little fun with it. I mean, look at the outcomes of this. In the English ordinal, it's a triple master 3. 3 means mind, the lower mind. 333, would obviously be a triple mind. And then, of course, through the Chaldean, it's 108, which is related to the 47th element, silver. And that has an atomic mass of 108. And remember, again, here it is, the White House, 47. Tetragrammaton, 47. And when we say 108905, which is this right here, matching that of the 108, 108905, we get the number 113, which is another 48, which is cadmium, which I showed you that in the previous slides of him coming down the escalator. Trump Tower equals 48. Donald Trump equals 48. So what about the 333? We showed the 108, the 333. When we say 333, it becomes 168. Well, what does the 168 appear in the digits of pi? It appears at the 1130th decimal digit of pi, 113. Folks, there it is again. Cadmium, the 48th element, matching that of what Donald Trump goes by. President Donald Trump. It is a 48. I mean, again, folks, how do you describe this any other way? We're talking about the digits of pi. If you're not a fan of numerology, that's cool, but are you going to deny numbers? That's real true math right there, by the way. Let's keep going. What about the Simpsons? What do they break down to? Well, notice the Simpsons break down to another 48. 48. Right here. Showed this 48 many times now, folks. So you're beginning to see the patterns. 48. And, the is a 14. Simpsons is a 34. This is the big standout, Simpsons, because the is just kind of a prefix for the Simpsons. Simpsons is the noun, the title. This is the most important standout. It's the 34. And even though the Simpsons are 48, matching that of cadmium, which links to Donald Trump and Trump Tower and all that kind of stuff, here is the cards that the Simpsons are related to. The Ace of Clubs, which means beginnings of the mind, and the 8 of Diamonds, which I showed this, is linked to the director of The Simpsons. His birth card is the 8 of Diamonds. And there's that Lucifer sigil, folks. Right overlaying over the 8 of Diamonds, perfectly going through all 8 of them. Perfectly. And then the 2 cards in question here, the Ace, Clubs, 8 Diamonds, it has a numerology of 73. 73 is related to the element tantalum, which is related to King Tantalus, if you study your Greek mythology. And look at what we have. Tantalum has a numerology output of 28, which is a direct match to the character Lucifer. I want you to keep in mind, I did this for a reason. I made this red, but Simpsons, it has an S and an S. What does serpent start with, or snake? It's the S. And they called it Simpsons from Springfield. 2 S's. How convenient. How convenient. What about this show right here? Matt Groening's spin-off called Futurama. This is all about telling the future right here. This is David Cohen, who's the creator of the show Futurama with Matt Groening, and they developed this show which is about life in the year 3000. We're talking about the future. This guy right here has a birth card of the two of diamonds. He was born on July 13th. That's the two of diamonds, the 28th card in the deck. That's a direct match of Lucifer. I mean, look at these connections, folks. I already decoded groaning. If you watch my video, how to decode yourself, I already decoded that guy. You know, either that dude is a time traveler, he's being used by this character right here, and they're giving them secrets. And here's the episode that really was the episode of all episodes with the Simpsons, determining and outlaying the Trump presidency. This was in 2000, March 19th of 2000. This was Lisa Simpson being the president, the first female president. And, you know, this was 16 years prior to Trump becoming the president. And, you know, some standouts in this, folks. Symbology-wise, there are 14 stars on the seal. 14 equals Satan. The March 19th, 2000, we're going to get into that date, but I want to get into this right here. The 11 and 17, it was season 11, episode 17, talking about Trump being the president before it ever happened. Well, when you go into the string of pi, you'll find that the 1117th digit of pi appears at the 6959. It appears right at the 69. Now, 69, folks, is linked to the character Lucifer again, because as you notice in this picture here, which I've already shown, Lucifer, during this episode on one of the shows on Netflix, Lucifer, he's in an auction. He holds up this number 69. And, you know, the guy who plays Lucifer, Mr. Ellis, his name equals 57 through numerology, which is a direct match of Nickel and Lucifer. And this guy's playing Lucifer, folks. And so there you have it. I mean, the 1117 is starting at the number 6, and then the number 9 follows it. 69, folks. Now, I want to measure it a little bit differently. If you go ahead and you add up the digits of pi in the string of pi where your number is in question. For example, folks, the 1117th decimal digit of pi appears right there at the number 6. So if you measure at the 1116th decimal digit, you're going to get an outcome. This is 1116 decimal places beyond the 3 point, and then of course the 69 would appear. So we add up all these digits, folks, and we get the number 5008. And there's your 58, folks, tying to Nickel. Nickel has several weights, but there is your match, the 58. And of course, then once again, we have the character Lucifer. I mean, am I beginning to sound like a broken record? Are you beginning to see what I'm seeing here? And why this is so groundbreaking? These are the two guys that were involved in the season 11, episode 17 that predicted Trump's presidency. Folks, I'm getting near the end of this, but folks, the latter part of this presentation is going to rock your world. I'm saving the best for last, or at least I think so. March 19th, 2000, it's the 79th day of the year. That's linked to the element gold, and if you understand alchemy, it's turning lead into gold. Really important to understand. This is tied to the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's directly tied into the height and base ratios, the measurements of that. It's really interesting. But nonetheless, these are the two guys that were involved in the creation of this episode. This is off of Wikipedia, and this is what they put in here. This is what they want to show you. Michael Mercantile and Dan Greeny. Here are their births. Michael, born April 12th. Dan, born September 28th. Notice the number 28. The number 12 is tied to the hangman in the tarot, folks. I showed that on the first slide of Lucifer. Look at the timestamp of these two guys right here. Between Michael's birth and Daniel's birth, it's a span of 2,361 days, or 77 months and 16 days, and we can write that out as 777. And when you understand the severity of that now, folks, the importance of what I'm showing you, this was massive on the internet when Trump became president, because the day that he became president, from his birth stamp, he was 70 years old, 7 months and 7 days on his first full day in office. And these guys right here who wrote the prediction of Trump being in office, they have a timestamp of 777. Folks, what are the odds of that being the case? 1 in cajillion? What can only be the logical conclusion to all of this, folks? But wait, there's more. There was an article that came out in the Hollywood Reporter on March 16th, 2016. Look at the timestamp at 3:41 p.m. That's pi, folks, 3.14, 341. Even if you decode Ryan Parker, I could just keep going, folks. This thing sucked me in. I could have spent 5 hours on this presentation and not even done showing you everything. But look at this. They asked this guy, Dan Greeny, how they were able to predict the presidency of Trump. And he says it was a warning to America. Notice it's in parentheses. Whenever you see parentheses, you can decode that. It was a warning to America. This was the words of Dan Greeny, not mine, not the Hollywood Reporter. It was a warning to America. That's what they want you to see. Let's decode that. And look at what we have, folks. A warning to America equals the number 172. And we bring pi into this again. The 172 appears at the 138th decimal digit of pi. 138 and 172 are connected in the infinite powerful string of pi. And you might be asking yourself, well, what does the 138 have anything to do with things? And there it is, folks. You see, this matrix is telling you what is going on. It is giving you the truths and showing you that this game of life, folks, is completely fixed and rigged. Donald John Trump, he has a total numerology of 66, but here is where it gets interesting. All of these elements are his elements. Notice that Donald John Trump is a total of 15 letters, and each letter, D is a 4, O is a 7, N is a 5, and when we connect these numbers to the elements of the periodic table, all the elements, all 15 of them, and then we add those up, going over to the trusty calculator, we get the number 138.111. And if you know anything about 111, that's tied to 1.21 gigawatts. But Donald John Trump, through numerology and alchemy, becomes the number 138, which is a direct match in the string of pi, which Dan Greeny said to the Hollywood Reporter it was a warning to America. Now, it could have been any other story, but it was particularly designed around predicting the Trump presidency, and it's a direct match of this dude's alchemy and numerology. And folks, that's why I'm saying this dude's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Notice that the 138 is tied to the element lanthanum. And that element, when you go study and research it, it'll give you clues. It says it is to lie hidden. Like to be kept secret from you, can't see it, wants to stay hidden. And of course, 57 is tied to the element nickel, because nickel has a weight of 57. And I showed you that Lucifer's, one of his elements is nickel, which means devil's copper. Copper. What does this guy look like? His face is orange. What color is copper? Isn't it kind of an orangey color? You Yeah, I think it is kind of an orangey color. Well, folks, now you know why he looks orange. Devil's copper. Here's another example, just so you know I'm not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Here's another prime example. I decoded Keanu Charles Reeves through the decoding of the movie John Wick. Notice here is Keanu Charles Reeves' full name and his alchemy through numerology. He has an 18-letter word. Go over to the trusty calculator. Folks, look at what outcome he has. 143.152. That is a direct match of the 60th element called neodymium. Now, what was Keanu Charles Reeves' name in the popular movie The Matrix? Yeah, it was Neo. Now, do you think the writers are using this exact methodology? Perhaps. That is a possibility. But whether or not they're doing it, folks, how do you explain these syncs through the digits of pi? This would take a god-awful amount of time. People would never get their jobs done to be able to pull this off, these numbers and these syncs, ever. And so therefore, we can only ask ourselves, or come to the conclusion of either these guys know the future through time travel, or they're being used by the character Lucifer. I have 2 slides left. Here is the inauguration of President Trump. Now, normally, if you read on the inauguration, they do it around 12 p.m. Why did they do it at 11:41 a.m. on January 20th? How come 11:41? Let's ask the string of pi. Where does the 1141 show up? Well, the number 88 is right there in blue. It appears at the 1141st digit, which is 88, folks. Do you think these people are doing this? Trying to figure this out like, oh yeah, we got to use pi and we got to get them exactly at 1141? Folks, it would be absolutely impossible to do it. So the only logical conclusion that we can come to is that man is being used. You can call it possession all you want. Maybe that's a little bit stern approach. But man is being used to fulfill a predestination. And there's no other way to describe it. My last slide is the Society of Jesus. The Jesuits, which, keep in mind, Trump went to a Jesuit school. Go study it. He went to Fordham University, which is why Anthony Fauci's on the world stage sharing time with him at the White House, because Fauci went to Holy Cross in Massachusetts. They're Jesuits, folks, and that is the Society of Jesus, the Black Sun. And Society of Jesus, which is what they go by, that is a 57. Remember what 57 is. That is nickel, devil's copper. And then the word Jesuit is the number 20. And when we bring in the cards of Illumination and the Tarot, the 20th card's the 7 of clubs, matching that of Jesuit. And the counterpart of the 7 of clubs is the 7 of wands, the 28th card, which is a match of Lucifer. So obviously it's clear, folks, who these people are pledging to, what they worship, what they're using to try to pull the woolly over your eyes on the world stage. And it's a big, fat scam. This is why I say, folks, this is the great photograph from Iron Maiden's album cover. This is the number of the beast, 666. This is man being used, folks. There is no other explanation for what I'm showing you today. I don't know if you can explain it any other way. Maybe you just completely don't understand the numbers and the cards and the connections I'm making. That's okay, but thank you for sticking with me on this presentation. Another long one, but folks, this one to me, again, my jaw was on the floor during the entire time. I could have spent more hours, but folks, this is the only logical explanation other than Trump and Groening and the Simpsons and all these things. They're time travelers and they're moving through time. But that wouldn't explain the numbering sequences that you're seeing other than the matrix is fixed. Once you establish something in the matrix, it exposes itself through the digits of pi and the other elements and layers that I've shown you, the elements of the periodic table and the cards of illumination and the tarot and the animal tarot and the numerology. But man is being used. We are being used, folks. And, if you can get past the horror in that, maybe you can make some heads or tails of what I'm telling you. Which is why I say the game of life, it's fixed. It is completely rigged. The outcome has already been decided. And these people, if you're a Bible thumper, if you like the Bible, that's fine. But this guy is tied directly to the book of Revelations. Tied directly to it. The Trump-Pence being blown. Trump and Pence? How are you to really figure that out and describe it any other way? If this guy is in the book of Revelation, the last book, and he's part of a crooked society like these guys, he's part of this, then what should that tell you about the Bible? Either the God of the Bible is just as bad as these people on earth, or we have some other explanation to come up with, folks. There's got to be, what other logical explanation can you come up with? Look, my position is to expose the things in life that need to be exposed. That's it. I know these people are just doing their job. That's all cool. I'm sure Trump's a nice guy. Everybody's nice. Everybody has a nice side to him. But that's not the point, folks. See, they hide things, and they try to control you through lies and deceit. And I'm not cool with that. I am not cool with that. The only logical explanation, folks, they're either time travelers, or they've been given the keys to the kingdom through this character Lucifer, or Lucifer is using them to write through them. And then you would have to ask yourself, well, okay, if the Bible's divinely inspired and Trump's part of the Bible, well then who wrote the Bible? Who was divinely inspiring man to write the Bible? Think about it, folks. Use your common sense. So that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. Thank you so very much for your support and time watching this presentation.